welcome to the Artist Showcase. I am your host, Tonya Michelle. Wow, it has been, what, a minute since I've been to the studio with you all live. I miss you guys, but I know my shows has been on doing reruns and stuff the last week or so, so I appreciate you joining in with me and tuning in. Again, you're watching the Artist Showcase live, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Be sure that you click the like, follow, and share, and be sure that you comment and subscribe. Thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. I have one of my favorite guests. I've interviewed him probably a couple of times on other shows, and I'm so glad he's able to come back to WJZZ. Nick Smith, yes, very well known jazz pianist who is known for all different musical genres such as Latin, rhythm and blues, rock and country. And you might have seen him on the Jay Leno Tonight Show, right? He was part of the Jay Leno Tonight Show band. He scored, many films and TV, and recorded with over 20 artists. Yes, yes, yes. His list is long, right? But we're going to bring him on in just a second. He's going to tell us a little bit about himself, how he got into this industry. I want to learn a little bit about piano, right? I want to learn about the keys and, the differences and what's the difference between an organ and a piano, right? I do. I want to know that. And we're going to, take a look at his journey a little bit. What's been going on with him. And you know what? He's got some gigs coming up too. He's going to tell us about. Please help me welcome to the Artist Showcase my friend, my favorite guest in the whole wide world, composer, pianist, jazz pianist, I should say, Mr. Nick Smith. Nick, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me back. It's a pleasure and an honor.
Yes, yes, yes. My goodness. Tell us, who is Nick Smith?
Well, Nick Smith is just another person and another piano player who enjoys life, and I love sharing music with the world, and I enjoy composing music that everyone can appreciate.
Awesome, 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 awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about who is one of your greatest influence out there?
Today or just in general?
I would say in music in general, or artists.
Okay, well, if I may say, my parents discovered that I could play the piano when I was 2 years old. And my father, he played an extreme important role of being an influence, because my first jazz concert that I was blessed to go see was the late, great Duke Ellington.
Oh,
And
wow.
I met Duke when I was, how old was I? I probably was about 4 or 5 years old. And I can remember telling him, I can play one of those. I was pointing to the piano, and and pat me on my shoulder and on top of my head and say, well, young man, if you can play that, you keep practicing, you'll become great. So in my mother's household, there was a lot of different music that I was exposed to at an early age, from jazz to rock, R&B, James Brown, Sly Stone, Jimi Hendrix, Santana. Then my dad would take me around in the corner, and he would be playing music from Miles Davis, John Coltrane, and it was just so much information that was coming at me. So now, as far as today, I can say one of my big influences is Mr. Herbie Hancock. What I love about Herbie is his versatility to go in any direction of music. And me and Herbie, I had the pleasure of playing with him one time at a NAMM show. I was upstairs playing these pianos that I would love to get my hands on. This piano entitled the Fazioli, and another great piano was the Ravenscroft. But Herbie heard me playing, and he sat down at the adjoining piano, and we played one of his tunes together. And for him to compliment me the way he did really made me feel great because he told me, "I've seen you, but I didn't know you played like that. You got your own style and your own
Mhm.
sound. I can hear where you've been listening to me, but Paul, Wynton Kelly, um, um, uh, um, Tommy Flanagan. I mean, he named every piano player that I have been studying. He was correct.
Wow.
So, that's a blessing. Another person who's a great influence, and unfortunately he's no longer with us, the late great George Duke, Chick Corea, um, and oh my, I mean the list goes on and on. And it depends on one as an individual. What direction do you want to pursue? Because
Right.
to me, I always tell people there's two kinds of music,
Right.
good and bad.
Right. Mhm. That is so true. That is so true. Define to me the difference between. I've always wanted to know this. What is the difference between? I mean, I can hear the difference between the two, but define the difference between smooth jazz and traditional jazz.
Okay, traditional jazz has more substance and creativity.
Mhm.
And when you think back during the days of Charlie Parker, Train, Miles, Monk, all of them guys had a difference as far as their style go.
Mhm.
No one sounded like. And to
Right.
be honest with you, it's like in the words of the late great Miles Davis, jazz was a word that was made up because back then they couldn't understand what black musicians were playing.
Right.
So once they would start going to clubs and listening and they started transcribing it and writing it out, all of a sudden it becomes great.
Right.
But it was understood, it was given a name to try to at first put it down. Now, as far as the smooth jazz go, I'm not a fan of that art form because the word jazz is being misrepresented as far
Mm.
as their music go because it's really nothing but instrumental R&B.
Okay.
And unfortunately, a lot of these musicians who's playing this just to make money, everyone sounds almost alike. It's
Mm.
like they don't want to step outside of a certain box because of the fear, in my opinion, of being rejected. And to
Right.
me, simplicity can be creative,
Mhm.
but do you? We
Right.
already then had certain people. I mean, I'm not Stevie Wonder. I'm not Prince.
Right.
I'm not I'm not Marvin Gaye.
Mhm.
And it really infuriates me when I get called to play and people tell me, "Oh, we're doing a jazz gig," and then the first song on the playlist is something like "People Make the World Go Round" or "What's Going On." I'm
Right.
like, okay, R&B. This is not jazz. And
Mhm.
I know jazz is an art form of music. You have to grow up listening to it and be exposed to it. But one should still know the difference. That's like knowing the difference of fruit. You're not going to call a banana an apple and an apple a banana. It's fruit, but there's a difference. You see what
Right.
I mean?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. That that's good. You kind of let us know the difference. Between the two because I know that I can hear it. But I
Right,
needed someone to explain to me. And I grew up listening to or in my household, the Miles Davis and Coltrane. And then
right,
as I got probably in my 20s, I really started to like jazz. But I think back then, when I say in my 20s, I'm talking around like late 80s or early 90s. I started hearing like the smooth jazz,
right.
and it sounded a little bit R&B ish to me, in my
Right.
opinion. And so I like that, and I'm talking like the Najee, right?
Sure.
Those people, and I do like the smooth. I don't know if I can put them. I guess I can put them in smooth jazz, like
Well,
yeah, Najee.
if I may,
But I like it. But then there's another one too that's came out probably early 2000s, and now you're hearing a lot of the younger um, artists that are coming out that's tapping into jazz. They're doing a little bit of the jazz and hip hop a little bit. They're
okay.
doing a little sampling too. What do you think
Yeah.
about that?
Well, if I may say, see, I can remember if artists who wasn't doing more of the commercial type jazz. I can remember when it was called contemporary.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and what was great about that, at least the music still had substance
Hmm.
and creativity, and you could hear the influences of those guys playing.
Yeah.
Now, today, excuse me, instead of giving homage to the people where they're getting their styles from, because a lot of these guys, they're playing in the styles. They're trying to play like a Hank Crawford, Maceo Parker, and Junior Walker, and people like that.
Hmm. Hmm.
So give these guys their credit
Yeah.
because they weren't playing traditional bebop, even though they could. They were playing more of a commercial style to make money.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
now they they've come with this new category, and I'm sort of like, no, just call it instrumental R&B because
Yeah.
a lot of it does not have no jazz influence in it because it's
Mm.
more of a backbeat and a groove, and it's full of loops. Okay,
Right.
now you mentioned the hip hop thing. Okay, hip hop it has its own creativity and and I can appreciate it
Hmm.
because that came about because unfortunately that generation of kids who came after we did, born in the 70s or in the 80s, they were cheated because
Yeah.
schools, when we had the Republicans running the country back in the 80s, when
Mm.
Reagan was running things, he pulled arts and music and sports out of the schools. So them kids
Hmm.
got cheated as far as getting the education that we were lucky to get. See,
Right.
when I was growing up, we had bands. We had the orchestra, we had
Hmm.
choir, and
Yeah.
we would take field trips to go see different forms of music so we would be aware. Now, it was
Hmm.
up to us what our personal choice may be, but kids that I grew up with, even if they didn't play, they know the difference between a saxophone, a trumpet, a bass guitar, a lead guitar, the drums. But a lot of these kids today, when you speak to them pertaining to that, the only thing they're saying, "Oh man, I just want to make beats. I want to make beats." Well, how are
Yeah.
you going to beat if you don't know the components of a drum set? If you can't explain what type of beat you want to play, be it a jazz feel, a backbeat, a Latin feel, what are you going to do?
Right.
So with technology today, yeah, it's a blessing and a curse at the same time
Hmm.
because I look on social media and I see this advertisement of, oh, you can buy this pack of MIDI chords. Well, that's great. But is this pack explaining to you how to use these chords? That's
Yeah.
like me. I'm going to be a mechanic, but I don't know the components of a car. I don't know the difference between an alternator or a battery, a transmission, or some spark plugs, or whatever. So how I'm gonna fix
Hmm.
the car? So
Right.
knowledge
Hmm.
is very important. So to combine it together, I think it's great because look at what Herbie did when he came out with that song Rocket. He put the hip hop feel when back then when breakdancing was popular. He put that in his style of music and it
Yeah.
worked. Miles did the same thing later on. So
Hmm.
I mean, we can fuse it all together, but it needs to be a better understanding and a better way of presenting it versus trying to put everything in just into one category. You
Yeah.
understand what I mean?
Hmm. Exactly. Exactly. Perfectly said. Perfectly said. We just got in real deep right at the beginning of the show, right?
Exactly. I loved it.
We got in real deep. We're gonna sit back and relax for just a minute. I know a lot of people are just getting home and from work, had a long week, and you just tuning in. For those who are just tuning in, I have pianist and composer Nick Smith. That's my guest this evening. And so we're going to listen to one of your songs, Nick. Chillin'. Chillin' Mellow. Now that's on. Now is that on the Romance CD?
No, that's on the Influence CDs.
Okay. Okay. Well, we're gonna take a listen to that. So here is Nick Smith. This is Chillin' Mellow. like that one. I like that one. I like it. I like it. Chillin'
You know,
mellow.
that's
Love
the
it.
version that's like that record. I'm sorry, so we got to clarify that with the audience. That song is like that.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Um,
Mm-hmm.
what influenced you to do that song?
You know, it was funny. I went to sleep, and that night I had this dream about Miles Davis, and
Mm.
and when I woke up, it's like I could feel his presence and his spirit.
Mhm.
It, he was like he was sitting in a chair in my room, and he was just looking at me, and
Mm.
he said to me, "Go ahead." And I just went to the keyboard. I got straight up, put on the robe, went into my little studio, and that song came to my mind. And
Wow.
it's just something that made me think of him because when he came out, with his record, Finding the Vernacular, Bitches Brew, he
Mhm.
had so many elements mixed into that.
Yeah.
That's where the influence came from. The bass clarinet, little string orchestration, and it's kind of dark and
Yes.
it's mellow, but it's dark at the same
Mhm.
time.
Mhm. For sure.
And it's got a combination feel. It's got a little backbeat, but it's got a little bit of swing with it as well if you listen to the beat. And that's what I mean about, having a little knowledge of a little everything, and you can use it in various ways.
That's right. That's right. So you guys listen to that. For those who want to get into the jazz business, know your stuff, do your research.
Yes,
You
do
gotta
your
yeah,
work.
do your research. That's for sure. That's for sure. When you look through your journey, um, was there? Tell me a little bit about you. Tell me. Well, let's do this. Tell me a little bit about your journey and what it's been like. I guess from when you first started to now.
Okay. Well, I started in Cleveland, Ohio. That's where I was born and raised.
Okay.
And I used to play a lot of club dates in various situations. Um, Actually, I was playing gigs and I was still in grade school because
Mm,
me and my brother, we had a band together.
okay.
And once I reached my teen years, you know, me and my brother's band disbanded. So I put my own situation together,
Mm-hmm.
and Cleveland, it had its good moments and everything, but I always wanted more.
Mm-hmm.
And see, a lot of people thought, okay, somebody gonna come here, they might hear you, they may like you, and they're gonna make you a star. No, it doesn't work that way. You got to go where it's happening. And before the
Right.
technology day, Cleveland didn't have the outlet like a California and New York. So after I came out of school, I made up in my mind, okay, I'm gonna either come to the West Coast or I'm gonna go further east and go to New York.
Mm-hmm.
So and getting the pleasure to play with better musicians, older musicians who talked to me and schooled me about certain things. I suggest to all upcoming musicians today, the musical part is very easy, but it's the business that you really have to educate yourself on because you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate.
Ooh,
Okay,
right.
so
Mm-hmm.
I can say I'm thankful that I played in various genres. My first professional gig was Roy Ayers.
Ooh,
That
one of my
I,
favorites.
I learned quite a bit from him, and
Yeah.
then from there, I got to work with various people like Gene Carn. When I was still living in Cleveland, a lot of these artists would come into town, and when they wanted to put, who they considered to be the best musicians to do the job, a lot of times I would get that call.
Mm-hmm.
Then meeting different musicians who played in situations that I really would have liked to have been a part of, um, we would get together and work together, and then you know meeting different musicians who like I met a gentleman by the name of Myungle Jackson. He's a percussionist and he's played with everyone from Miles, Stevie Wonder, Joe Zawinu. When he heard me play, he suggested I should come out to California, and he was one of the few people who really was a man of his word. And that's another thing in this business.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that glitter is not gold, and because anyone can tell you what you want to hear,
Yeah.
but are they going to really follow through with what they promise they're going to make happen? And unfortunately, during my adventures as a musician, I've gone through that dilemma of people making promises of you know, contributing or going to do things to further my career, and it wasn't nothing but talk. So again, another suggestion I will tell any of you who listening to this: somebody tell you something that sounds good, but your best friend get it in writing. You get it in writing. If they don't deliver, you got a lawsuit. Because see, you don't want to lose money, make investments. Well, so and so said he gonna do this. Guess what? No one owes you anything because we're everybody's competition, and it shouldn't be that way.
That's
Because
right.
it's sad that a lot of these artists who are established have forgotten someone gave them a chance.
That's right.
No, nobody got to where they got to without someone saying, "Hey, you sound great. I'd like for you to play in my situation," and we can go down the list, and that'd be a conversation that can go on to next week. But
Right.
you know, I'm just
Right.
I'm just giving a little enlightenment. So,
Right.
so I've done the R&B gigs, and I got criticized for doing it, but
Yeah.
I'm glad I did it because it disciplined me. It disciplined me to you got to whatever style of music is, you can be you, but you got to stay within the frame.
Yeah.
One of my first big R&B gigs was Levert, the Sons of the OJ's. I
Okay.
did that tour. Then from there, I went with Freddie Jackson, and then from there, I started playing with different contemporary artists like Najee, and the list goes on. And then when I came out here, same thing. Just my first big gig was Brandy. I toured with her. That's back
Okay.
when she was 15, and we went on the Tonight Show. Jay Leno, and I knew the band in Jay Leno on Jay Leno show, and I sat at the piano. I started playing, and the guitar player he heard me and he said, "Man, you're one of the first cats who've ever played my music." And when they made a change in certain musicians, I got called to do the show, and that was
Wow.
great.
Oh, wow.
Then after that, I that's when I started working with Stanley Clark. I worked with him for like 10 years, and worked with him as far as scoring some music for like for Soul Food and a few movies.
Okay.
And uh, he played on my first CD, and I was blessed to have my brother and my friend, Mr. Dennis Chambers, who's a phenomenal drummer who
Mhm.
plays with everyone. There's no one he hasn't played with. And so now I worked on two more projects. My second project was Influence,
Okay.
and my last project is Romance.
Okay.
Now I'm getting to work on some new music. My next CD, I'm gonna do another contemporary one. I think I'm gonna call that one Groove City. So
Okay.
just trying to keep it happening. And for this next CD, I had a very good friend of mine. Unfortunately, we lost him back in April. He was a well-known drummer. His name was Isaac Wiley. He used to
Oh,
play with. He was
wow.
one of the original founding members of the Daz Band. And
Oh,
not
okay.
only was he a great drummer, he was a great writer. So
Mhm.
um, he wrote a song entitled Groove City, and he
Mhm.
wrote another one called Don't Throw It Away.
Mhm.
And when I Don't Throw It Away, it's a beautiful ballad, and it talks about a relationship where people have their moments, but it's a great thing, and they don't want to let it go. And that's
Yeah.
what we need because a lot of the music that I'm hearing today, the lyrics is just too explicit, and everything is just too sexual and is negative against women. And what
Right.
really makes it bad, the women is writing some of these songs.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
really?
You're right.
I'm like, I'm
Yep.
like,
You're
really?
right.
Okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because to me, it's about representation. How you
Yeah.
present yourself is how people want to perceive you. And if
Yeah.
you put yourself a certain way, you can't get mad if someone look at you a certain way.
Yeah, exactly. And it's it's sad, but that's what they're looking for. In order to to promote them and get them on a label and things like that. It's like either you have dress or you don't. Is I
Right.
mean, it's just we just so we're in different different times now.
Oh,
And
nothing
nothing
sacred.
is like it used to
Nothing,
be.
nothing is sacred. Everything is out
Yeah,
there. And and
exactly,
and see,
exactly.
and unfortunately, some of the artists from back then, they sort of set that example. I mean,
Yeah,
I can some names, and I saw some things that was done. I'm like, really, was that necessary?
yeah.
You
And it's
because
and but that's and it's something that's what they're doing now. It's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
Romance, romance.
yeah.
Oh my God. Now I'm going to play this song. This is one of my favorites too. I like all of your songs on the romance CD, But this is definitely one of my favorites. Let's
Thank
see.
you.
Let's see. Oh, you know what? Do I have romance? I don't have romance on. Oh, I didn't bring romance with me. You know, I'm gonna do feeling smooth. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna
Okay.
do feeling smooth.
Which one? On the romance record or on It's Like That?
Um, I believe it's on off the romance.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I hear it. Once I hear it, I'll know.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's off It's Like That. That's off the
It's
first
like
CD.
that. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
What influenced you to do that song?
Well, actually, the version that I recorded on Romance of that song, Feeling Smooth, that's the way I originally recorded it. And
Ah.
I thought to myself, I said, you know what? Let me take this song and give it more of a mainstream jazz feel. So I changed it up a little bit. And sometimes we may do that. We may take a song and record it one way, and there's no law that doesn't say you can't